This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Hey everyone, welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today I'm going to be talking about how change comes when you realize that no one really knows what they're doing. My guest this week is Ashwath Narayanan, and he is a co-founder and the CEO of Social Current, which is an agency and platform that helps nonprofits, impact organizations, and issue-focused organizations collaborate with creators to reach audiences more effectively. I think Ashwath's work with Social Current is so exciting, so without further ado, let's get started with this episode featuring Ashwath Narayanan.
Thanks so much for having me. My name's Ashwath. I'm one of the co-founders at Social Current. We're a platform plus agency that matches nonprofits, impact or purpose-driven organizations, or creators on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So I founded Social Current about 3 years ago when I was in my sophomore year at GW, with a focus of helping impact orgs, nonprofits reach young people more effectively, because I was in a lot of spaces where decisions were being made about young people without young people didn't make any sense. And so I was like, I'm going to found a company, hire more young people, and represent ourselves in these spaces. And then we did our first creator campaign for an organization called Community Change, and we're really hooked because we got to see the impact creators could have, but also sort of got to have fun and got to invest in folks that weren't talking about issues, but got to talk about them in a paid capacity with a cause. And so since then, that's what we do. We basically help organizations find creators from their community and then work with them.
That is such a great start, and I think Social Current has so many different facets that makes it run, so I'm really excited to talk more about what it looks like to run it and what your day-to-day looks like. But first, I would love to know more about what inspired you to get started with Social Current and in this social impact space. Can you tell me about that background for you?
100%. So for us, like a lot of the work we do was because of that very first campaign. So Community Change was doing sort of some work around the child tax credit, and they were trying to figure out how they could get that tax policy outside of media, outside of sort of paywalls, outside of DC and into the communities. And so that was our very first sort of attempt at creator work. And we helped them find about 15 creators that had lived experiences around the policy. And then all these creators did was talk about them. And then divert people to more resources on the policy, and really saw the success there. We were able to reach over 400,000 people in under 24 hours, and we saw the success. And so a lot of what we've been doing after that has been, how can we do that for more organizations, and how can we help folks get out of the echo chambers and the bubbles they're in and reach people that could actually get impacted by the policy or by the issue, or by the resources they have. And so a lot of our work is, how can we help these organizations that have a lot of awesome research and awesome policy and awesome work break out of who they're currently reaching and reach a newer audience.
I think that idea of making information more accessible to a wider audience and doing it on platforms that really meet people and really reach them where they are is a great idea, and it's a great way to use social media. So tell me more about what your day-to-day looks like when you're doing this work with Social Current. What is it like to run this platform?
Yeah, every day can honestly look very different. But most days it's a lot of like leading our team. We've got an awesome team of 5 full-time folks and a couple part-time, including me. And so we've got an awesome team. And so a lot of it's like checking in with them, checking in with their clients or organizations. We're also building out a tech platform, like a marketplace, where organizations can sign up and work with creators. And so like a little bit of testing around that. Talking to creators, a ton of meetings, but a lot of my day is like, how can we bring these two sides that aren't usually interacting with each other together through our platform, through our agency, through email, through calls, webinars, resources. And so how do we just get these two sides that like in a lot of times are doing similar-ish work around issues or have a passion for issues together so that they can collaborate?
That sounds so exciting. So tell me more about how the network has grown over the last few years. How many creators and organizations have you managed to work with since you got started?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, today we've worked with over, I would say, like 75 different advocacy nonprofits, impact org, startups in the sort of impact space. And we've worked directly with almost 2,000 creators on paid campaigns. And then our network is almost 10,000 plus creators. And so it's been growing and scaling over the last year. And I think next year is going to be a lot bigger because a lot of the work we do is around the elections and sort of issue advocacy. And so next year is also definitely going to be a lot bigger than before. But right now, I would say like the creator network is over 10,000 plus, and our organization network is, in the hundreds and thousands.
That is so exciting. So, how do creators and organizations sign up and start working with Social Current? I know a lot of people listening to this are young changemakers who may be dabbling in content creation to support their activism and their advocacy and other work that they're doing, or they may have their own organizations. So, what is the process like to get involved with Social Current if listeners are interested?
For sure. So I think on the organization side, it's fairly straightforward. You can reach out or sign up through our website. On the creator side too, like we've got a ton of resources for creators that are either already doing work around issues or want to explore doing work around issues they care about. So you can come to like a creator briefing we do every month, or you can sign up to our newsletter to like engage with creators. You can sign up on our platform. And so a lot of what we're doing for the creator side is like trying to help creators figure out what they care about, why they care about it, and how they can take an action around it with a nonprofit or an organization or a cause broadly. And so I would say like for creators that are looking to engage, I would think through like what you're passionate about, why, and who's doing work in the space, and then reach out maybe through us or reach out directly and see if there's ways for you to collaborate with the organization. And for the organization too, like I think looking through who your community follows, who your community is, and then reaching out to members from those communities that have some sort of social presence, and then investing them for the long term to build content and to, drive sort of change around these issues.
I think this work that you're doing is a really great example of the positive influence that social media can have on society. And I think it's a topic that I talk about a lot on this podcast with my guests because social media can be used for good, like I think you're working towards with Social Current, which is so exciting. But there are also a lot of negative impacts of social media as well. And it's great to hear about this work that you're doing to connect people and make change through social media. So, throughout this work that you've done to develop Social Current, are there any pieces of advice or words of wisdom that have really stuck with you and motivate you to keep doing this work?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like necessarily advice, but I think like over the years, like over the last 2 years, I've come to the realization that like no one really knows what they're doing, and like anyone that like tells you to do something specific doesn't have the context you have. And so at the end of the day, like obviously listen to other people and take advice, but also like weigh that against what you know, because no one has the context you have. And I've been thinking about that a lot because we have some really awesome advisors that give us good advice, and then we put that into our own context. But like our own context is important to take advice and make it useful. And so I think like as a young person doing work, it can be hard to like figure out what to listen to, who to listen to, especially when so many different people are telling you so many different things. And I would say like trust yourself and listen to yourself and sort of figure out like what because no one knows the context that you know.
I love that. And I think it's so important to remember that nobody really knows exactly what they're doing and everybody's trying to figure it out. So I have one more question for you. Lots of young people want to create change, but they may not know how to get started with that work. What advice do you have for those people who may be listening?
I would say like the best thing to do is to talk to other people that are already sort of doing work in the space that you're looking to do work in, and see what the needs are and understand what you could do that already isn't being done. Like one of the things we did was we talked to a bunch of other agencies and other people that were building companies to help impact organizations and build something that sort of wasn't there, or, made sure that what we could do was actually valuable. And so I would say like for young people that are looking to make a change, try to figure out like if the sort of area you're trying to make a change in needs a change, if someone else is at the forefront of the change, and try to think through like how you could fit into it. Because I think that can be important to make sure that the change you're trying to make is sustainable and impacts the right people in the right way.
I think Ashwath's work with Social Current is so exciting, and as I mentioned in our conversation, I think the work he's doing is a great example of the positive impact that social media can have on our lives. My favorite part of this conversation with Ashwath was when he talked about his realization that no one really knows what they're doing, and it's important to listen to people's advice, but also remember that you're the one with the full context of your goals, your organization, your project, or whatever else you're working on. I think this is a great piece of advice to keep in mind, especially as we're going into the new year, and many people may be starting new projects or diving deeper into existing ones, because change comes when you realize that no one really knows what they're doing. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can find Ashwath on Instagram at AshwathHHH to get connected with him. You can also find Social Current on Instagram at Social Current, and I also included the link to the Social Current website in the description of this episode. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at bethechangepodcast. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys!